All right, you're all very welcome back to the studio here. We're filming our podcast for the Grassroots TV football show today. We're talking about, and we're joined by Stephen O'Mara, Galway analyst, and the man you've all been familiar with, Mr. Peter Pringle over there. Lads, have Raheny improved that much, or what do you reckon? Has Plunkett's gone backwards?
I suppose we don't really know until the two sides play this week against Bowden and Crokes. I suppose the first thing you have to say about Plunkett's, the team that you would have seen there in 2014 that, got to a county final that was, a tougher run than most teams, and get to an All-Ireland club final. 10 or 11 of the players that played that year and the following year that would have been generally regular starters, they weren't there, or they weren't starting. Declan Lally came on, Alan Brogan came on. They're not getting any younger. So I think for me, we see Plunkett's, we know Plunkett's, but for me, it's not the same team that was competing for senior championships. A lot of the personnel are gone. Craig Dunleavy, he was the perfect man beside Ross McConnell. McConnell's a fabulous footballer, but I suppose even playing for Dublin, he wasn't an engine midfielder as such, and now he's well into his 30s. Dunleavy not beside him, it's a big loss. Then Niall Walsh was super, but you're taking Niall Walsh from half forward, where himself, Paul Brogan, Conor Walsh, they were the three big line breakers. None of them are there. Walsh is midfield, Paul Brogan's playing for the second team, I believe. Conor Walsh, I believe, is in Australia. Then Bernard's obviously injured. So for me, that Plunkett's team, and look, I don't know a lot of the guys who've come in to take their place. So maybe
I don't think underage they've done a whole pile to replenish the stocks they had. The very good teams they had, with the Brogans, and they had a lot of imports in as well. They had.
They got McKeever in for Armagh. He's gone back now. So he wasn't there in 2014, mind you. But Corrigan's in there.
But historically, that team, Plunkett's have always had a few outsiders playing. The chap from Meath, his name escapes me. He's centre back from Meath.
Miles.
Anthony Miles,
Miles, Even now they've Reynolds from Leitrim as centre back.
Michael Bright from Cavan was there as well. So
Yeah.
they've always had imports. I don't know if their underage teams are coming as strong as them.
No, and even when they were at their peak, there was a bit of a deal tools about them in that they didn't have. I think if my memory serves me correctly, they didn't have a minor A team for 10 years, but they had 2 or 3 superb players on a number of teams, which is sort of what brought them through, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the way to go. You don't need to be in an underage titles.
Yeah,
4 in a row, 5 in a row. Just you need to get a player or two through every year. And I don't know if they are getting the players through. Just looking at Raheny, I know a number of the Raheny players from underage. I was involved in an under squad with Dublin. There's Darren Bourne, who he won a 21 All-Ireland last year with Dublin. There's Brian Howard, who was always
Bourne, I think was injured last week, which is noteworthy.
Then the centre back McMahon, he was originally Scully Connell.
I didn't know that.
He won 21 All-Ireland as well, and has been a very strong feature of Deji Farrell's 21 teams.
Yeah, for me, a Dublin senior of the future from the 2 games I've seen of him in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and of Brian Howard, I was involved in under the development squad from 2011, and Brian was always a fantastic talent. We always thought, if anyone, you can't pick underage players to make it through, but if you had money to bet, we would have bet on him. He just had a fantastic attitude. I don't know how to describe, because some players are stars, but Brian was just a great attitude. Would do anything.
Okay. And funny you say that. That appears to me to be a feature of that Raheny team. I like to cut at them, I have to say. Their structures, their discipline. There doesn't seem, they seem to be very united. They seem to be very focused.
Yeah, I probably agree. Like, I don't know Brian Fenton, but he seems to be the same kind of character.
I think so. I think it's fair to say that from what I've seen of him on the field.
Brian Howard is in that category, that they're just decent lads, and I think it is a trait of maybe of the Dublin Senior Football team that they seem to be just grounded, and I think that's important, that they come in and they do what they're told, they play, and they move
Absolutely.
on.
And there's no sense from what I see that Brian Fenton is bigger than the team, which you can often get with a county player coming into a club team, but there's no sense of that from what I can see with Raheny.
Well, with his record in the last number of years, I don't think has he lost one match, a league final.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Dublin's 3 in a row has come with Brian Fenton coming into the team, and Kieran Kilkenny coming back from injury.
Well, hopefully, like I said, Brian Howard had a very good league for Dublin, and I'd be hopeful that he would push on again, because
Yeah.
it's a championship is different, like, and
Yeah.
it's a
Absolutely,
dog
yeah.
eat dog out there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but I just think I just think he has a balance. I mean, he looks like a rugby winger. The way he can turn with the ball. Like, I was involved with the DIT team this year, and I mean, when sometimes he just gets the ball. Like, old boys fellas for fun. And I just think I'll be interested to see Raheny this week against Ballyboden, because I think their diamond, their 6, 8, 9, 11 is probably as good as there is in club football in the country. Sean McMahon, who for me is a Dublin senior starter of the future, he's just breaking line for fun from centre back. You have Connor Talty, who's the perfect complementing midfielder with a Brian Fenton, with anyone really. He covers phenomenal ground. He's a very stable, disciplined, intelligent player. Then you've obviously Fenton, I think you couldn't argue, is the best midfielder in the country.
You know, yeah.
And then you've Howard at centre forward. So look, for me, that's a tasty game. Raheny coming against Ballyboden. Whether they have the firepower up front that the top teams have, look, we'll see. But
I think Raheny could benefit from being in Division 1. I think they're in Division 2.
Yeah.
And I think for the players at the top, obviously the Fentons, the Howards, they will get the experience of playing, but the rest of the players need to be playing Division 1 to become a power in Championship. Like, you won't see many Division 2 teams.
No. And they have the misfortune, obviously, that they're missing 2, maybe 3 players week in, week out. I mean, I saw them against Ballybockle a few weeks ago. Bockle have just come up for Division 3, and all of a sudden they meet Raheny with Brian Howard and Brian Fenton.
Yeah.
And they didn't really look literally like they should be in the same league as teams, right? You know, with respect to Bockle.
Yeah, no, I think Raheny definitely would benefit from being in Division 1, but they're missing those players every week.
Yeah.
They haven't got as big as pick as the Vintons, you know, the Ballybodens, to be down these players. So a smaller club like Raheny, who have 2 players on Dublin panel. You mentioned the centre back as well, Sean McMahon.
Yeah,
that'd be 3.
phenomenal player.
That'd be 3 key players missing in league matches.
Yeah.
So you won't.
Yeah, it's very difficult for them to stay in Division 1 without those 3 boys.
The team suffer, you know.
Yeah.
Ballymun have 7 or 8, and I think that's one of the problems they have, is that when they come back, to integrate them,
it's very difficult.
Very difficult, yeah.
Steve, you thought Ballyboden's defence and structures, they raised a couple of questions.
Suppose, you know, looking at the start of the championship, people would have considered it a long shot. And look, still, you've got to bear in mind, like, Ballyboden still have some serious footballers. I mean, I always thought with the concept that to win a senior championship, you need 2 top class footballers, and it's forwards, attacking forwards. You can get a ball, take by the scruff of the neck, and score themselves. And you know, you have the 2 Bascals, and you've Madden now. I mean, I was looking at this fella. Who is he? Number 23. I'm reliably informed that down in Australia that he marked quicker sprints than Jack McCaffrey did down there, and McCaffrey was renowned to be the fastest footballer there had ever been. So they've 3 serious footballers there, and they've obviously got a very rounded team. I just felt, you know, and then I went through a bit of analysis, and as I wrote in my article last week, you know, it's the naughties with Dublin since I saw a team at that level conceding 10 man-on-man attacks and only getting 1. You know, you'd have to, for me, there's questions over structures there. Now, obviously, Rome wasn't built in a day. As I've said, they've come in, the kick-outs are really well set up, really well structured, but I just felt that, you know, Crokes just got through their defence, I felt, too easily. Now, they only conceded 3-12 or 3-13. It's not massive, but the 3 goals I felt, you know, they were very soft.
They were very competitive though in the match. Like, it wasn't over. Like, they didn't lose it easy. So Ballyboden, All-Ireland champions, was it 2 years ago? So they're going to have, I would think they'd have too much for Raheny. You know, it's a bit of a big ask because it's a big game for Ballyboden now.
Oh, they're gone.
So
they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone to lose. So they probably will just about get over the line there with Raheny.
Yeah, no, I do think the raw talent is there with Bowden that they probably should. I just feel sort of going forward, as I say, like when I broke down a few different things. I suppose, honestly, I saw the GPS. I don't know, it's easy when a team lose to start slagging GPS. I saw 1 or 2 cheap shots. You know, I'm in the analysis field. If somebody gave me GPS for a club team, I'd take the hand off you. But I suppose what's an interesting concept, and I always talk about it, you know, I think the best thing, genuinely, I don't mean this in a disparaging way, I think the best thing that Anthony Rainbow can do with that Ballyboden team is take them out and watch the Foxrock Cabinteely girls team, because there's a concept in soccer that we don't really have the technology for in GAA without serious labour, that GPS figures are fine, but what they found in soccer when they got into this field of analysis was that 55% of most players running went forward, or of their top speed sprints, 55% was forward and 45% was going backwards. Now obviously you'd like to think professionals would be 50-50, but they're still not. There's no glory in running back towards your own goals. But they found Claude Makelele and N'Golo Kante do the majority of their hard running backwards. And I just would have felt, you know, that there's 2 or 3 lads in that Ballyboden middle third. Like, I just felt they didn't like running backwards. And again, you look at Foxrock Cabinteely, who dominate Dublin football. If they lose the ball in their half forward line, the girls team, like, they've 6 or 7 N'Golo Kante and Claude Makelele. If you haven't scored within 6 or 7 seconds, you're facing a blanket defence because they all just dart back. I mean, the game's on TG Carr. Look at Croke's second goal. Like, there's a player or two just decide not to run back hard, and they're not fellas of any question mark over fitness. Yeah. So I do think, you know, I think if you were to take those GPS figures apart, and it's labour intensive, it can be done through Microsoft. I really feel whatever those GPS readings are given for Ballyboden, I think if you were to separate the runs going forward and the runs going back, I'd be surprised if there's not players there that maybe have a 10-90 ratio. And I think the team on the whole would be a long way off what you'd need to win in a championship. That'd be my feeling.
GPS, I'm not a great fan, to be honest with you, of systems like that. I remember reading one time about a rugby team.
Who let him in here?
That there was stats in the rugby team, and they were finding that whoever had the most mileage, say, but the players never stop running during the breaks, even during just to get their stats up.
Yeah,
you know,
look,
so I think good players win matches. I'm not a great fan.
Don't get me wrong. And Andrea Pirlo would have had the lowest GPS rates with Juventus.
Yeah.
What I would say is with that, I mean, there's a lot of analysis very one-dimensional. I mean, I wouldn't be picking a player on the basis that he has so many runs.
Yeah.
But when you break it apart and you combine it with other elements of analysis, you can pick holes. And I mean, for me, you know, if you do have a player on the team who's doing as many or more sprints than everybody else, and he's doing a higher proportion going backwards, it's like playing with an extra player. That'd be my take on it. Again, when you watch Foxrock Cabinteely, and they are the best team in the country for it, the Foxrock Cabinteely girls team, it's like playing against 18 players sometimes, because they're attacking you man on man. You turn them over and you're attacking into a blanket defence. And I just think, and look, it's easy. I don't want to kick Ballyboden when they're down. They're a fine team, and as I say, there's some, obviously some structural work has been done. But I just do think if I was working on analysis there, I'd be looking to get a budget to get some bloke to take those GPS figures apart and look at that figure, and I think it would be significant.
But I had Keeney only come on as a sub, I think, against Crokes. He's not featuring because of the hurling, you know, so he'd be big, you know, he's a big target man. And so if he's back with the Dublin hurlers, when they're playing hurling, when Ballyboden have a lot of fellas in hurling panels, they suffer. But the year they won the All-Ireland Club football, all the hurlers went and played the football. Stephen Heine, Colin Keeney. So, but
don't get me wrong. I mean, they were still within a disallowed goal. I mean, he did overcarry.
Yeah,
but within a disallowed goal drawn level. I'm not writing Ballyboden off. I'm not saying they're not great footballers. I just felt from a structural point of view there were one or two things were a bit off, and I wouldn't have been happy myself as a coach with the work ethic of a couple of players when Crokes attacked.
Yeah.
Lads, did we learn anything from Vincent's against Skerries?
Obviously, when a team win a game by that much, it's difficult to say that you did. I suppose the first obvious thing is, even without Dermot Connolly in there, it didn't seem to hamper the forward line too much. Obviously, it'd be a horse for colour if they were facing Ballymun or one of the bigger teams. I suppose just if one thing I would have noticed, and I'm always talking about Vincent's, how they reshape and reform, and I'd have question marks about what will happen when Ger Brennan goes, because he organises so much. But I was watching, because I mean the game was dead and buried by half time. I was watching just the individuals and the structures, and a guy who just came to my mind, and I've been watching him, I'm very impressed with him, Craig Wilson. I would have noticed he's really turned into a leader there as well, and he seems to have all the same kind of intellectual capacity that Ger Brennan does, and he's now at a stage where he's making the calls. Sometimes I saw him once or twice shouting at more senior players, and the restructured, reshape was good. So look, that's obviously something positive for what you could get out of a game that they won.
The caveat I'd have, Steve, with that is that it's against Skerries.
Yeah, obviously.
So you have to look upon what you're up against. And Skerries, what they're doing, I know a lot of the underage players, Don McAlorum and a few others, but for instance against Skerries, I wouldn't take a whole lot into it, into it. No,
and again, from an attacking point of view, I would agree with you. From a defensive point of view, I'm just looking at maybe some of the structures that were in place that I just thought were impressive, regardless of who you're playing. But obviously, if you're Paddy Small and James McCarthy running at you, it's a horse of a different colour.
It's like probably it's like something the old boxer said. Mike Tyson said. He said everyone has a great plan till I punch them in the head.
yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
until a team is tested, I obviously didn't see the Vincent's and Skerry's game, but Skerry seemed to have high hope, but they had a few, as I said, younger players like Donald McAlorum and Stephen Smith, but
who had a superb opening actually. Smith,
yeah, but they don't. They had a reasonable Division 1. I think they were relegated. They struggled.
Yeah,
but they stayed up. But I don't know if they have the firepower to trouble a Vincent's team or a Ballymun team.
Yeah.
So Saturday, lads, Vincent's Fina. Will Na Fianna cause an upset, or what do you reckon?
I think they might, because of the fact that I don't think Dermot Connolly will play. I think in the last number of years he's just been the go-to man for Vincent's, and I every match they win he seems to score a 1-3 or 1-4, and just at pivotal time games he just comes up with a goal out of nothing. The Fianna are very defensive under Philip McElwee. He was the defensive coach, I think, with Daisy Farrell's 21 teams.
Yes,
he is inclined to hold them back. I don't mean that in a bad way, just that he's more defensive orientated. So if they're going to win, they'll probably win a tight game rather than a free scoring game.
Yeah, but do you think maybe the Fianna needed a bit of that? I mean, I'm thinking back to Temple Oak Sing Street 2014 and Ola O'Gara up 1-on-1 in a spacious full forward line. You know.
Yeah, it's like what do you do? Do you go all the defence or all? You have to mix it, like, and the Fianna have plenty of, like, the underage talent coming through, but there's an awful difference between 21. They've won last year. They won the 21 hurling and football. Yeah, but I don't know if they get huge players through. They've the same kind of. Obviously, Johnny Cooper will be there. Noel McGovern. They've young John Caffrey's coming through. He's very good against Lucan. I had him on. He has potential, like, to cause trouble. But Vincent's, don't know how. I think it'd be closer than people think. I think the Connolly factor will be a big issue.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. I mean, when you look at, say, the Ballymun semi-final a couple of years, we got 5 points, and 4 of them were just, they should have been put in a museum for those points he got. And if you took that out of it, you'd have to say Ballymun probably would have won that game again last year. He was the key line breaker or scorer and 1-4. Yeah, no doubt about that. And I suppose, I feel the Fianna are coming good, and I think Lucan are probably better than people maybe realise as well. It was very structured, and it was at the end of the day. It was just a bit of class by 2 boys up front, particularly McHugh in the second half. I felt was a difference. But I don't know. I maybe being a bit brave saying I think there could be. It's not that could be a 50-50 game.
I don't think it will be a shock if they win.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it to be a shock.
Because they've won. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 21s in the last, say, 6 or 7 years. So they have talent coming through. They've gone with a lot of homegrown talent. They've stuck with it. They probably lack. They have Owen McHugh midfield now, who played minor with Dublin. He won a Leinster about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
They've been lacking in midfield, I thought, last number of years.
And he's just from the hurling. I mean, he's a serious ball winner. He ran amok.
He scored 7 points.
He scored 7 points on play, and a lot of them are won off his own high ball. So if that translates,
I know that they have good time. Obviously, good time midfield. They're young enough side in the Fianna, so the Fianna be seasoned, but they're going to get caught sometime. I wouldn't surprise me if the Fianna turn them over, like,
Yeah, I'm not going to lay on the colours of the mask, but I'd say that's not far off a 50-50 personally.
Lads, did you see anything that might suggest Ballymun winning it this year?
I think if you play Gaelic football like American football, and you set up an offence and a defence, and you had 6-on-6 backs and forward style, I don't think anybody in the country would stay with Ballymun. I really don't. Their raw pace, ball carrying ability, shooting ability is phenomenal. The big issue for me with Ballymun, as I've written many times, is that when they play Vincent's, Vincent's are so smart. They're such an intellectual team. They reshape and they reform. Like what I was saying about Craig Wilson, how he's now just a young lad. He's coming in. He's fitting into that mould. He's becoming a leader in that role. Brennan has always done it. They all do it. Ballymun wouldn't, and nobody does. But Ballymun, I felt, wouldn't have had the same ability as Vincent's in that regard.
Sorry, I think Ballymun are probably a victim of their own success. They've 7 lads or 6 with Dublin.
Yeah,
they get them back very late. Vincent's have Connolly maybe, and 1 or 2 others.
Carty, Savage at different times. Mullins there, but no more than 2. They have a bad year.
They train
a good year, a bad year.
And Vincent. I think Ballymun are spooked, for want of a better word, by Ballymun. By
Vincent.
Sometimes that they think they obviously have the footballers. So it's just getting it right. And today they've 6 on a hugely successful Dublin team.
Yeah,
that is an amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I do take that point, but and I wouldn't argue with it remotely. What I would say is, again, when you look at the same figure I had with Ballybowden and Crokes, I mean, Vincent's create more man-on-man attacks than Ballymun do when they play them, and for me, that's a massively key defining factor in a game of football. And I just would have noticed, I mean, Brendan Hackett, he won 2 Leinsters out of 3 with Kildare, against Dublin teams here that are, coming up with serious potential every year. I just noticed one thing on the kick out, which I think is key to where Ballymun need to go, which was, and I suppose I wrote an article about this that I think was probably an article most coaches or managers should read about modern football. And you're trying to press man on man to deprive the opposition the short kick out in possession, which can be statistically very beneficial. Not so much at club level, but at county level and with the better club teams. But the risk there is that the team go over the top on you, which is how Jude's took Crokes apart 2 years ago. Tyrone got an awful amount of goals off, and Donegal did against Kerry in the first game of the league this year. But the risk is, what do you do in between? And what I noticed with Ballymun, and I'm sure Brendan Hackett's stamp is all over, I haven't seen his work before, but I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. They're pushing man on man, but when they see too many of the opposition are squeezing into the half, risking going over the top, you can see the calls being made, and they're dropping off. Say, okay, now's the time to split. We're going to leave one man sitting in the hole. Now, if they can do that on kickouts and they can apply it to their normal game, all of a sudden those figures of man on man versus blanket defence attacks, where there's been an imbalance with them and Vincent's, that starts rebalancing itself, even gets to a 60-40. All of a sudden, I think you start to fancy Ballymun, and that's, as I say, we'll see what happens.
If it goes through the football game, we say, rather than tactics, maybe Ballymun could win. They'd be a bit like Brazil. We say they play the football. They have the football.
Yeah.
You're saying that it's going to a tactical game that Vince are clever. I think I can't. I repeat myself here. I think you can't overestimate the Connolly factor. That because he can. In the final last year, he got a goal out of nothing, and it was a very tight game. So a goal was a huge.
Oh yeah.
I think the score at halftime was something like 1-3 to
1-5 to 2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So the goal, it was like they were never going to get it back. Then a point. So if he's not playing, and Ballymun get all their footballers back, and they've huge talent. They've an underage, the few underage guys coming. Conor Kavanagh scored a goal now. He played 3 years with minor with Dublin.
Yeah. He was involved with one of your.
Yeah, we had underage on the development squad, and Conor was. He's only a sub, and he's coming on. So, that's the talent they have. Do they have enough to go forward? Look, it isn't a huge number of teams that are going to win the championship. Like if you Crokes, Ballybowden, Vincent's and Ballymun, it'll come from one of them.
I wouldn't write out Jude's, but or potentially Nafina, but broadly speaking.
Nafina probably for the future team, if they beat Vincent's this year, that'd be a big plus for them going forward and a big boost.
As I say that, the Castleknock lads will be sitting there thinking, we're waiting in the long grass. But, broadly speaking, I would agree with the main contenders there. Yeah.
Lads, Bridget's Castleknock this Saturday. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that it was the one a year marked in advance. It's probably going to be a knockout game. I mean, I haven't seen Castleknock. Connor was out there. He was generally impressed with what he saw. I just think, look, we analysed it last week. We won't talk much more about it. Just beyond the fact that it's on air sports. Massive rivalry. If Bridget's lose, they're out. Assuming Ballymun beat Clontarf. We'll say a decade of the rosary for Clontarf between now and then. But it for me, it's what championship is all about, isn't it?
They're one of the teams I didn't mention in my previous comment there, Castleknock, and they were in the county final 2 years ago. So they obviously have the pedigree with Kieran Kilkenny and such like. But I think they'll beat Bridges on Saturday, because I was disappointed with Bridges against. I thought they were very disappointed against Ballymun.
But isn't everybody disappointed against Ballymun except for Vincent's? Yeah,
but Bridges looked to me like they were beaten before they went out. Okay. So sometimes you can lose and you get something out of it. Like if I go back to the hurling, like Kieran's, I thought shot a lot in their losses to Ballybowden and Coola. I just thought Bridges, for me, for Division 1 side, they didn't show enough, you know.
Yeah,
So-
I suppose again I would preface that with the fact that they've actually got Vincent's aside, they've got closer to Ballymun than anybody has in the last since Plunkett's beat them. So that's why I am intrigued by this game, because it's the first top side that Bridges have played in 4 championships that aren't Ballymun. So there's a lot to, you know, it's an intriguing game.
Well, it's a local derby as well, so you're gonna
it's-
and when that kind of a lot of form goes out the window, so Bridges won't be worried about what happened the last day. And
No.
it's a win game it's a must-win game for them.
For them it is, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
so-
Castlelock could still beat Ballymun in the last game and save it if they lose.
Yeah.
But for Bridget's, if they lose, they're gone. So,
Yeah,
it's,
so
I'm looking forward to it anyway. It's a tasty one, you know.
Thanks a million, guys. That's the end of the show for us. Thanks a million to Peter Pringle, 6 times Dublin champion, senior champion, and of course ex-Dublin hurler. And Stephen, thanks for coming in. You're in here every week, Stephen, but thanks a million for coming in. We'll catch you all again. Stay tuned.